I think that often people are not recognizing the ripple effect of not having affordable housing. Because what it does, in essence, is close the opportunity for young people. There are many millennials who just graduated from a university. Jobs are no longer the way they used to be in the past. And finding a well-paying long-term job is harder and harder. So there are many young people who cannot get into the housing market altogether. And unfortunately, it leaves a big gap and a big generation of people who will not be able to afford a home. And this is quite a challenge compared to earlier generations. It is, in my view, a very relevant and very good question. What I found, I wrote a book on small towns. I visited many of them in Canada and around the world. And what I found in my research is that young people who cannot afford homes in their communities often leave. They move to other places where they can get better employment and they have better opportunity, which means that in those small towns, there is no continuum of demographic ages, meaning that there is a large cohort of old people, which means that that young blood that you need to get these economies, their economies moving, to find the volunteers, to do all kinds of activities does not exist. So not having affordable housing means that you will see the number of young people in this community diminish to create large elderly population, which is again demographically very bad. Usually changes, what I find from my experience, the changes do not happen overnight. And we need to get people comfortable with building alternative forms of housing. The way to do it is to have events like this and to invite people who can educate developers, public officials about alternative possibilities. Okay? The second one is to encourage, with the help of the community, developers, builders, or the community itself, to build a demonstration project. And once something is built, it can become a source of inspiration for other projects that can be built in some of these places. So absolutely possible, but we need to convince people that affordable housing is not a curse. You can build affordable housing that will not necessarily be an eyesore. And sometimes this is how they foresee. In other words, people foresee affordable housing as something that will stigmatize the community. The architecture of affordable housing, similar to what I'm going to say or to show this evening, can be magnificent, can be beautiful. And it can add value to the community, bring young people, and I believe create employment. Construction of these houses will generate lots of employment in the community, which is also wonderful. I think that when you speak about small towns and rural communities, offering solution that belongs to the city, belong in the city, is not the way to go. In other words, building very tall structures and building buildings of a character that belong to busy cities will have a negative effect. I believe that any solution needs to be rooted in the culture of a place. We can build homes that are smaller, similar to what the first pioneers and settler built in this place. And I believe that if you see some of what was built, there were large families living in them. So we are not inventing something new, but falling on models and culture that is rooted in the place. So building small townhouses, a group of them, or even freestanding homes will be the way to go. Now, I call the type of challenge, some of it at least, the one that you describe, good trouble. Good trouble, there are places from which people escape, going away. Your region is about to grow and expand, and this is good. People are coming here. The idea of people coming need to be harnessed and work with. And I truly believe that this region needs to develop a long-term housing strategy. What I commonly see is that we are improvising solution when we face a challenge, and after a few years, we forget about the solution and we move on to another subject. Affordable housing needs to be developed and designed as a policy for the long run, meaning, for example, allowing in some places zoning changes. For example, allowing smaller homes to be built. In some areas, you will be able to build perhaps townhouses rather than single-family homes, allowing apartment building to be constructed in other. Once you set in place a mechanism or way to introduce affordable housing, the process will start to work on its own. But sometime when you don't even have the policy, when you don't even have the instruments to create affordable housing, nothing will happen. So I will strongly recommend that the zoning, for example, can be revisited and something can be introduced. I believe that I visited many communities around the world, and I will feature many projects. The underlying element in all of these places is innovation. You cannot have the cake and eat it too. Something needs to give, something needs to change. And if you try to approach affordable housing with old strategies, you are destined to fail. What I mean is that politicians, housing providers, builders must embrace innovation and not fall into old models that unfortunately do not work. As an architect, I developed many affordable housing prototypes, and all of them broke rank. They changed the way we do things. And I believe this in my view, explain their success in the marketplace.